All right. The hour of 6 o'clock having arrived and a quorum being present, I'd like to call the Administration and Public Works Committee hearing to order. We have ourselves a quorum. The first item is the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of February 11th, 2019. Do I have a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that passes. We are now going to move along to consent calendar. Alderman Ruth Simmons, could you please do A1 and A2?
Absolutely. A1, payroll, January 21st, 2019 through February 3rd, 2019, $3,395,286.97 is for action. A2, bills list, February 26, 2019, in the amount of $3,840,928.39. BMO credit card activity period ending December 26, 2018, in the amount without Amazon, in the amount of $161,281.90. This is for action.
All right.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I've asked to remove items A6 and A7 from the consent calendar, and if there's anyone from staff here who could just give me a quick overview of why we should do it in without bidding this out, I'd appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Desai.
Good evening, Chair and the members of the committee. This is our Chief Financial Officer. We have two items where we have asked for the one more year extension. One of them is the PFM Financial Advisors, who help us on the bond issues, provide the financial services. And the other one is Chapman and Cutler, who work as a bond counsel. And few things for my request to the City Council. Both of them doing a great job. They did a great job, particularly last year when we had the first round of Robert Crown bond issue. Not only saving the money, but like navigating through the legal complex procedures, particularly with the bond counsel, because we issued the bonds as what we call a 501c3 and the TEFRA hearing, which was required. The second thing is, as they have done a great job. I mean, we are doing the second round of Robert Crown funding this year. We did almost $25 million this year. I expect the number to be anywhere from 15 to 20 million, depending on the funds we receive from Robert Crown. So for the continuity, we wanted to stay with the same set of people who knows the things, and particularly the bond counsel, the Chapman and Cutler, our agreements with the people who don't giving us the money, is a lot more complex, and they have been quite helpful to us, kind of navigating through process and guiding us and working with our legal department in terms of agreement.
Okay, excellent.
Okay.
Oh, sure, go ahead, please. Sorry.
And the third thing is, yes, timing-wise, I talked to the Public Works and others about our Robert Crown. It's going on a full scale, the aggressive scheduling. So compared to last year, we might be issuing the bonds a little earlier this year in the May and or the June 1st week. So these were the couple of reasons I said, okay, let's stay with them. Next year, we would go with the RFP for both the services.
All right, excellent. Questions from the committee? Alderman Fleming?
I have a quick question for the financial advisor. It says that the fee amount is included when the bond is issued. What do you estimate the fee to be?
The fees would be not more than generally they go by the bond series. So like last year we issued 4 different bonds. But I think it would be not more than $20,000 per series. So it would be a total fees of $40,000. This year I expect only 2 series bonds. There won't be any taxable bonds for the TIF, as well as I don't see any refunding bonds. With the new tax law, we can do the advance refunding to save the money. So I guess this time we would have 1 bond for the Robert Crown and the other one for CIP.
All right, and so those fees are about customary for this?
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, no further questions. Do I have a motion to approve items A6 and A7?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. All right. Item A10 is a resolution for an intergovernmental agreement with the Board of Education of ETHS and the implementation of body-worn cameras. And item A11 is a sale contract for city-owned real property located at 1729 Dodge Avenue. So that's the end of the consent agenda. Moving to items for consideration. Alderman Fleming, can you do item A3? Oh, can I have a vote on the consent agenda?
Move approval?
Second.
All
But I
in
have a, can I, oh, never mind. Sorry, I was on the wrong number. I'm fine with the second.
All in favor?
Aye.
No opposed? All right, the consent agenda passes. So now moving to items for consideration. Item A3, Alderman Fleming.
A3 is the BMO Amazon credit card activity period ending December 26, 2018. The amount is $3,002.02. That's for action.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
And I abstain. That motion passes with a vote of 3-0 to 1.
Can I just say that I appreciate staff continuing to come down on the Amazon purchases? It's been significant decrease in purchasing, so I appreciate that.
Item A4, Alderman Rainey.
Contract for engineering services for Oakton Street water supply connection for the Village of Lincolnwood with Greeley and Hanson LLC. This is for action. It is in the amount of $222,217. Move approval.
Second.
All right, are there any questions? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Alderman Ruth Simmons, item A5, please.
Sure. A5, staff recommends City Council authorize the city manager to execute a contract for engineering services related to the water system vulnerability assessment and emergency response plan with AECOM in the amount of $294,804. Funding for the study will be provided from the Water Fund. This account has a fiscal year 2019 budget allocation of $545,000, all of which is remaining. This is for action.
Second.
All right, Alderman Fleming.
I just have a quick question. Can staff come just help me understand? There's some huge variances in price, and I understand that you went out for bid, but when you go from $58,000 to $323,000 for the same amount of work, I'm concerned about where we landed, and if you can help me understand that.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Darrell King, Water Production Bureau Chief. So we went out for the RFP, and we got the 7 responses back. As the committee went through the process of judging and just going through all of the proposals that came in, we felt for the most part, most of the consultants understood the scope and gave us what we were looking for, whether it was approach. We felt like, for instance, the $58,000 proposal that we received, excuse me, just did not identify what we were looking for. The team was deficient that they were proposing for the project. The firm experience was lacking. And so I think that went into it. When we looked at the other proposals, especially the one that won, the project approach was exactly what we were looking for. The team had plenty of experience, as well as the firm had a lot of experience. And so that's why we're recommending that firm in terms of proceeding with this project.
Alderman Rainey.
But the two bids, when you look at them together, the water connection bid and this bid, very interesting, because Greeley and Hanson, which was the worst bid of this latter bid, won the other bid. And they're known for their waterworks. And so I thought that was very interesting. And also, a bidder who lost the second bid is the minority contractor on the second bidder that won the bid. So, I mean, a lot of people won on these two bids. I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, and the engineering work,
Went to one of the bidders that lost the bid on the second bid.
correct. And based on what the scope of work is, some firms perform better at a vulnerability study than a firm that, specializes more in, connections and vaults and designing water main and those types of things.
But it made no sense to me, having read so many of these types of jobs before. Why did Greeley and Hanson bid on this bid? I mean, their bid was ridiculous, I thought.
I think Greeley and Hanson, they are trying to get a foot in the door, and they've been submitting bids for different projects, and we felt comfortable recommending them for the Lincolnwood connection,
Sure.
for instance.
I
But in terms of the water system vulnerability assessment, based off of, the firm experience, the team experience, the project approach, and the level of effort that went into it, we just didn't feel that, we felt if we were to select that firm, we're setting ourselves up for change orders
Oh,
and possibly just a bad experience with that project. So, that's why we
I-
scored the way we did.
Certainly agree with you, yeah. And I agree with you, Alderman.
And a lot of other firms that submitted proposals were sub-consultants to the other firms. So that was why you saw that as well.
Interesting. Thank you.
You're
Good
welcome.
work.
All right. So item A5 has been moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item A8 is a service provider agreement with the YWCA Evanston North Shore in the amount of $75,000. This is for action.
I will second it, but I had spoken to staff about holding this one. I had some questions that I would like to speak to city staff and the Y. So I'd like to hold this one until the next meeting.
Okay, there's a motion to hold this. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that motion carries 4-0.
I thought
Item A9, Alderman Fleming.
A9 is a grant agreement with the Youth Job Center to provide funding for a career partnership manager. Staff recommends council authorize city manager to sign a grant agreement with YJC to provide funding in the amount of $90,000 to help cover the cost of a career partnership manager. This position will help facilitate the partnership between YJC, the mayor's Employer Advisory Council, ETHS, and other community partners who are dedicated to supporting youth and young adults. Funding will come from the Good Neighbor Fund. Other program cost with fiscal year 2018 budget of $370,000 is for action.
Second.
All right, is there any discussion? Alderman Rainey?
I don't have any questions on this particular item. It looks very well put together. But I do have a request for information, and that is I would like to ask, if it's not too much trouble for our staff, I hate sending requests that cause hours and hours of work, but if there's any way that I could get information regarding every single project that we have going that has to do with career opportunities, job development, workforce development, youth employment, if I could get an inventory of those programs, I would appreciate that.
Sure, we can gather that information and.
No rush.
Okay.
Thank you.
Alderman Fleming?
I have a question just about the position. So it talks about kind of coordinating a bunch of stuff here. And I guess my question is, at the high school, they have career and college counselors. They also have a career and technical education director. YJC obviously also has staff that deal with the same thing. So I'm just trying to understand how this position is going to be different than
Right.
all the others.
It's a great question. Thank you for having me here. So, Karen Demarest, Youth Job Center, and this position is really intended to be part of the collaboration between YJC, the Mayor's Employer Advisory Council, and ETHS. And the purpose is that we know approximately 200 kids every year graduate from ETHS and they don't go on to college, and we honestly don't know what happens to a lot of them. On the other side, there are a lot of employers that are looking to build a workforce that have opportunities that can start at entry level and grow, or have apprenticeship programs where they can continue to learn and move into living wage careers. And what this position is doing is less the connecting each student to a job. It's building the system internally at ETHS that really starts to change the dialogue around career versus college, where everything should actually lead to career. Whether you go to college, whether you start in a job, whether you start in an apprenticeship. So they'll be working with ETHS and leadership and counselors to help inform them what the opportunities are. And then on the other side, really working with employers, and Neil can speak to that a little better, to help employers create internal career paths. Some are already doing it. As a matter of fact, we've already met with Waterworks here at City of Evanston and some of the opportunities that exist with them. There's a lot of employers that have these opportunities, and there's been a mismatch to date on how to connect young people to them. So this position is really about building a sustainable system so that young people will have the information and be able to make the choices that fit their needs.
And is the assumption that this job will be, I mean, we're funding it for 1 year, right? So is the assumption that in 1 year, this person will put all these systems together, or will this be a continuum? I guess, again,
So the
I
mayor's
haven't been to the
employer
mayor's employer.
Yeah, I think
I'm
I'll
not
let
sure what
Neil
it's
speak
called.
for a second on that.
Okay.
Let me answer that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mayor Haggerty has said that he's got 2 years left on the Good Neighbor Fund allocation. And he said that for this year and next year, he's going to add, delegate or allocate the $90,000 to this position. So it's good, should be good until the end of 2020. After that, we will sort out what kind of funding that we're going to be doing with this. But I want to reiterate what Karen said, is the high school has been college for everybody for a long time. And, they now know that, this is really something that not only is this school district doing it, but other school districts around the area, around the state, they have put positions in this, like this in place, and found that the career opportunities that were identified through this work, and it's a focused work. If you've got, 16 counselors, I think, at the high school for 3,400 students, it's very difficult to really get them lined up to really be talking to the employers and whatnot. And the employers have really stepped up on this thing. So it is a bridging. This is a position that is not a school counselor position. And I want to make that very clear. This is a position that's actually building the bridges between ETHS, the counselors, the CTE program, and all that. And our local employers who really want these kids when they come right out of high school, because they've got careers for them.
All right, thank you.
All right, seeing no more lights, this has been moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstaining?
Aye.
Okay, so motion passed.
Could I know why you're abstaining? You're supposed to
I
just
said aye.
Oh, I thought you
Yeah.
said abstaining.
No.
Oh.
I was saying aye. Was that clear?
Yeah, I'm in. All right,
Okay,
cool.
yeah.
So that passes 4-0.
You
Yeah.
abstained. Sorry.
You were
Nope.
just slow playing it.
Yeah.
All right, that brings us to items for discussion. APW 1 is the wheel tax due date, and this is for discussion, changing the due date to October 1st with a renewal period that would begin on August 1st and run through September 30th. Is there anyone from staff here who could talk through that, please?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. So we have a kind of detailed memo about, in reference to your suggestion about the possible changing the dates from right now we are in January to December, instead of that either go to the June and we looked at the various options and we have a detailed memo, and we thought that October 1 to September 30th, that 12-month of cycle would be a better, and I think you would see that on the second page. We have explained why that date works for so many different reasons. And to kind of explain in detail, I think, where is Alex Thorpe? Right here? Yeah, come on in, and I will get you the chance to kind of go into the, detail as the revenue manager. Sure.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Alex Thorpe, Revenue Manager. We convene with parking and ourselves to kind of go over, from Jill's experience, what she's seen in Oak Park and just various parking industries, kind of the best transitional period for the wheel tax. And we thought, if we're going to move off the December 31st deadline, October 1st, based on some prior experience that Jill had and kind of our makeup for the city, that October 1st kind of seemed to fit a good mold. It wasn't kind of right in the middle of summertime. It was after summer that kind of let people kind of go through that summer transition. We have a lot of Northwestern students that move in sort of in that August, September time to get them time to get the signed lease and certain documentation that they need to provide for residential permit purposes. And then as well as it's really before the start of the holiday season, which is the big bottleneck for us now during the Thanksgiving and Christmas time. So we kind of thought as a good transitional period that for this coming year, we do the prorated 75%. We send out the letters the same time we would normally send out, which would be middle of October. They would get the letter sometime in October to say, hey, November 1st, the renewal season is open. It'll go through November and December with still the same December 31st deadline. However, this time it would, instead of being a full 12 months, it would only be the 9-month time. And then we would send a secondary notice sometime in July. Basically, then they would have the August, September to get the October deadline to get on that 12-month cycle. So you're kind of seeing like a two-letter system within that 12-month time frame, but it's in order to get sort of that transitional period on a 12-month cycle.
Okay. Do you have the capability to offer people the option of doing like a full 21 months rather than just doing the 9?
We're working with Passport right now. They're building out sort of a new platform for the wheel tax. I would imagine they would. I can't answer definitively right now.
Okay. My experience with this from constituent complaints has been people who intended to pay it, the renewal notification comes out pretty early.
Mm-hmm.
They put it on in a pile. Mm-hmm. They forget about it. Then January 4th, they remember. And so I think there are people who would take advantage of the opportunity to pay for a full, not just the 9 months, do a full extra year. And I don't know if there would be an incentive there. They'd be protected against possible raises in the wheel tax or something like that, if that would be worth it to the city and worth it as a convenience to residents. My other question is, as we try and get people to use the Passport system, would we have a way to kind of send out the initial reminder and then like, hey, seriously, man, it's the 25th of September. Like,
yeah, the current system now doesn't offer like an electronic email. It's a very paper-based system. We are working with Patrick and the community engagement team to try to get a text message notification similar to the parking bans and snow removal and such. So that would be one way that we can control sending that out through our existing means. And then we did reach out to Passport. It's something that they can manage as well, e-notifications sort of to customers, similar to when you sign up for the Park Evanston Now app. You can provide an email and get notifications that way. They would use that same means to sort of send out the timing of, hey, it's time for wheel tax renewal. They go through the Passport app side.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions or comments? Alderman Rainey.
Could we just have like a couple of weeks to talk to people about this? Because I didn't know about it until I opened my packet late Saturday night. Sorry. I just like to, I'm getting ready to, I've got a newsletter that I promised I would proofread tomorrow, and I'd like to put it in there and ask for some feedback. Would you mind? I mean, I just...
Operationally, like what's our timetable for having to be prepared to make this change if we choose to do so?
I think we're really in the early stages, so we have plenty of time to work with the vendors. And, if we go with the October deadline, we still would be able to send the letters out. Say if we're on this exact same scheduling for mailing, we'd have to have everything done and in the vendor's hand by early September, the latest. So I think we would probably
be able to decide by then.
Yeah, I think probably August, if we have a concrete decision, we can sort of build out, test the model, see if everything works that way. So at least give us about a month to tinker around and sort of a beta test for it. So.
Alderman Fleming?
I definitely like moving it from the end of the year, more so because people are buying Christmas gifts and such, and our families who are already needing assistance for that, this is just something extra. Can you remind me what other fees the city charges that are also due at this time? Do we have other ones?
Yeah, at the end of the year, we would have business licenses that go out for all the businesses that have to be licensed from the city. Fire alarm renewals is a big one for everybody who has a fire alarm system that, ADT. The health permits go out, so a lot of the food licensing, rental registrations. There's a water bill that's also in the mix during that time
Yeah.
frame. So it's sort of a great bottleneck of everything at one time.
Right, so that, some of those things, maybe the business license and things aren't going to be a hardship, but some of those things, could potentially be a hardship. So I definitely like moving it. October 1st is kind of just a non-memorable date for me, but I can adapt to that. My other question, though, is we had talked about, and maybe this was too difficult, having it where people, I think Chicago's moving to the model where you can pay for 6 months at a time. Did we look into that at all, or just moving the entire thing to a different due date?
At this point, we just looked at a 12-month timeframe. I don't know. It would really depend on how Passport Systems, since they're the platform that we'd be using. At this point, I don't know if they would be able to sort of handle a 6-month, 12-month in the system. We can definitely reach out and ask and see.
Yeah, it seems like if they could you could pay 6 months, 12 months, 24 months,
Absolutely, yeah.
something like-
I think one issue with the Chicago model is that reminder that you bought a 6-month, and there wouldn't be anything necessarily unless you sign up through an e-notification. The city wouldn't remind you, hey, you only bought a 6-month, and so sometimes the city ran into a lot of issues with ticketing for people not remembering to then buy the other 6 months. So it would be something just to take under consideration.
Yeah. And then I guess my other question, I think I might have just lost it. Yeah, so I would support, I'd rather see a 6-month, 12-month, 24-month option if we could do it that way, but I definitely support moving it off. And then I would even, if you can maybe shoot me a list of the other things that are due at the end of the month.
Absolutely.
I'd be interested in looking at seeing what else we can move. Oh, here's my other thought for Northwestern students you talked about. I would hope and I would think that there's a way once we got up and going with Passport that we could allow students to buy their wheel tax over at campus. So when they're, paying at the cashier's office or whatever they're doing, that they can also buy their wheel tax there. We might have a higher rate of students actually purchasing it than trying to get them to remember to get over here to buy it.
Sure. We could reach out. I think Erica could set us up with the contact there and ask.
Thank you.
Alderman Rainey.
The second property tax bill, when is that due?
Second property tax bill,
Late December.
early August. Yeah, the
August.
first ones will go out
August.
end of February, early March.
That's what I thought.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it. Are there any communications?
No communications.
All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. We are adjourned.